Today we talk to Ryan, aka Divinity, a full-time editor and motion designer for Paper Crowns, one of the leading design agencies in the esports and gaming space. We'll talk about how he recently left a stable job to pursue a full-time creative career, the struggles he faced, and how he ultimately found success. Today, we're talking to Ryan, aka Divinity. He's a full-time editor and motion designer for Paper Crowns. He's also one of my closest friends and soon-to-be best man at my wedding. So I'm excited to finally have him back. Ryan, how are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. I'm actually, like I said, my face is stuck in a smile.
Yeah.
Like I'm having a great time. I'm thankful to be here. So
I'm happy to have you. I mean, yeah, it's literally been a year since you were last on the stream, and this was before I started doing YouTube videos. So I wanted to center this stream more around you. And the first question I always ask the people I interview is when, where, and why you started in this community.
during like early middle school, maybe like when I was throughout that like Call of Duty phase, funny as it is, like I created a team and then like people weren't joining my team as creatives, so I was like, I need to edit their videos for them so we can post. Focusing on that creative aspect was way more fun than anything I've ever done. So
I think you're the second person that I've interviewed that's spoken on this, and it was also the same for me. Is you start out in Call of Duty in the gaming space, and you start out as a player and it ends up not working out. Like for me, I'm like trash at video games. So I started out as a player. I had like a team and everything that I was in. And then you discover editing through, like I discovered it through phase 2 in montages, and you try it out and it's like, dang, this is actually something that I'm already better at this than I am at actually playing the game. You know?
exactly.
I guess to pivot into recent times, roughly a year ago, you left your stable job, so job with salary, benefits, to pursue a creative career. So I kind of wanted to center the stream around that conversation and that experience, since I think a lot of people can relate to that journey that you took. So for context, I wanted to ask first, what did you do before joining Paper Crowns, and why did you decide to leave that job?
This is gonna be really fun because this is something I think every creative like strives to do, and I think that like I don't feel like it's spoken about enough, like kind of the steps to get to that spot. For 7 years of my life, right after high school, I worked for a medical company where I inspected these things called aortic grafts. They go in like around your aortic valves, and my job was basically to make sure, you know, they were completely free of any metal or anything that goes into the body. And I did that for 7 years, and throughout that full-time job, right after work, I would get on the computer, I would work till 5 a.m. It was just a constant grind. And I remember telling you, George, I was like, dude, like I would do anything to work from home, like anything. Like I'm so tired of this like constant loop of like, you know, full-time job and then back to like working. That's kind of where it started leading into Crowns there.
Everyone goes through this at some point, because eventually you'll make what I call a leap in your career. You have a somewhat safe position in your life, but you need to jump and pursue design, editing, anything creative that you want to do. So what was going through your head when you were considering leaving that job? So like pros, cons, fears, all of that stuff, right?
Freelancing, you know, like you have to wait for the clients to come in, and like it's such a scary thing, because if you don't have that paycheck, like how are you going to pay your bills? I sat down one night with my girlfriend Shayla, and we kind of planned out every single pro and every single con. I definitely think it is the most terrifying thing I've ever done, because leading into that, when I did put my 2 weeks in, I had so much fear that I was making a mistake. And I am not gonna lie, I did cry in front of my boss at my full-time job, and I think that was just all the emotions coming out at once, and me actually saying, like, putting my 2 weeks in was that leap, like you're saying, George. Like,
so do you remember what some of those pros and cons were?
I'm gonna be able to work more from home. I would always run into the issue around in the morning. That would be my last final couple hours to get the work in, and the second I leave my house, like I can't do anything else. Like I'm away, you know, like I'm gone. So having that extra 8 hours in my day makes
Yeah.
such a huge difference. This is not even related actually to work, but I was going to be able to have more time with my dogs. And I think that mentally is a great thing in a creative's life. Having that good source of positivity in your life, whether it's like going for a walk, which I know some of my friends do, or if it's spending time with your animals, that's really important.
So it's not just like physical, like you
Mhm.
get more time to work with, but also like it
Yeah.
changes your mental when you're able
Yeah.
to pursue your career and you don't have anything holding you back. Not just things in your career, but the things that make you happier in life by
Yeah.
leaving a job that takes up that much time. You get scared thinking about, am I going to be able to find work in time? What do I do? I guess leading into the next question, what was your plan or any strategies that you made that would help you pursue your passion full time?
I think calculating finances, right? How much do you actually need per month? That is I think a good step, realistic step. And then figuring out if there's a way for you to get consistent work. Even if you do really want to take that leap, that's something you kind of got to think about. Like, I'm not really getting consistent work. What can I do to change that? And are you making an active approach to take that route to changing that? Or are you still just doing the same thing and hopes that, you're going to get more work?
When you decide to leave a stable job, you need to get super organized. Like you need to organize
Yeah.
everything in your life, because up to then, when you are working a job that's the same hours and it's very straightforward, there's no inconsistencies, you kind of go on autopilot, right?
Yeah.
Everything ends up working out for you. You don't really need to like calculate your finances like that, because you
Yeah.
know what you're getting at the end of the day. You know what your expenses are. If I give myself this extra time, how am I going to use it? If you don't figure out where you're going to find clients, where you're going to look for, who you're going to talk to in advance, as soon as you leave that job, you might start feeling instant regret because you're like, I don't know what to do now. I wanted to move into more of your career now. So your job at Paper Crowns, now that you have this full-time position, what does your day-to-day look like?
I make a ton of the socials that go up, highlighting all the work that we do. Even the little things in Crowns, like just putting out a social, it does so much to build a company and build a team up. I hold that really dear to my heart. Basically, my day-to-day is like I work on my social, plan everything out in Notion for what I got to do. I have my my critical items. I basically do that, and if I have any additional client work, I'll try to knock that out as well.
You working on the social graphics. So if you guys go on the Paper Crowns Twitter, as soon as Ryan started doing full time, those animations and the showcase for all of Paper Crown's work just instantly was elevated because there was a dedicated person working on it. It wasn't like a last minute thing anymore. I don't know the full conversation that you had, but I'm pretty sure you spoke with Skylar, the owner, about doing socials to consistently fund your career.
We were in a call one night. I think it was me, Skylar, and if you guys have ever spoken to Renato, he's the guy who manages a lot over at Paper Crowns and on our Twitter. But in the beginning, we didn't have someone actively putting them out, so like I would be doing them a decent amount, but like I was still working on my other job, so I couldn't put them out as much. And Skylar had an amazing idea. He's like, would you be willing to do them all the time? I thought he was joking. I was like, yeah, that's funny. And he's like, no, seriously, like we'll do it.
One of the biggest points and maybe like a key takeaway from this stream is you doing social graphics for Crowns. That didn't exist until you created that opportunity with Skylar. So like you can literally create opportunities that solve your problems. So if you create a list of pros and cons, you can look at those cons and you don't have to be stuck with them. You can find ways to work around it. So if one of the cons is there's no consistent income, if you talk to the right people, so Ryan spoke with Sky and they solve that problem together, it helps out the brand. So it helps out Paper Crowns, it helps out you, solves your problem, and it gets you on the right track.
I want to add on to that really quick is that the reason that ended up happening was because when I had first initially joined Crowns, I was assigned to do a social for Night Media. I was really scared. I wanted to make it the best thing ever, and when we came out with it, it was something we never really animated a lot of our static designs. And that was something completely new to the team. And obviously we are a new company as well. So that was like, oh my gosh, like these are crazy. Like, let's keep making socials like this. And then like I started getting faster at it.
You brought something new to the table. So you introduced an idea that solved your problems, solved their problems, and it ended up being a benefit for everyone. So you try to look for those moments, especially if you want to get hired somewhere, is where can I create those moments that people don't really think about. It was the same for me with 100 Thieves. Sesso originally didn't know that I did motion design when he reached out to me, but I showed him that I could do it, and we saw results when we would use motion graphics for like our big moments. Suddenly it's a new opportunity, like, oh well, maybe we can find ways to put motion design more into like our brand experience. You seek out those moments, and that's basically guaranteed work. I wanted to pivot a little bit. So we've spoken about your career and your role at Paper Crowns, but I wanted to talk a little bit more about work ethic, and we're getting into more of the fun questions now. So Ryan is basically one of the hardest workers that I've ever met. For your perspective, what do you do to consistently stay motivated, and how do you avoid creative block?
When it comes to at least the socials, most people would think like, oh, I'm just quickly doing this just to get this out. But it's so much more than that to me. New people see our work, they want to come to us, and that allows me to help other people eat and pay their bills and do other things. And it gives me a sense of pride knowing that like I'm helping them get work to keep doing what they love as well.
The way you deal with motivation is primarily built around other people. So having that motivation, having basically a team that you care enough about their career is partially in your hands.
I used to think, I think last time on their stream, I did bring up some points about creative block. If you just sit down, turn off all those distractions around you, if you're not able to think, you have to just do the work. It's just not gonna go away, you know?
A lot of it's just built around fear. People will reach out to me sometimes, they'll say like, I have creative block on this project and I don't really know what to do. I feel kind of burned out. And one of the first questions I ask them is if it's a new project, or if it's a project that they've never worked on before. Because if you're working on something that you don't have experience in, or it's a first time like animating something a certain way or planning something out, you just get scared because you don't know what to do. You don't have the same process or strategy, right? So like you said, a lot of it's just built on cutting out distractions, because you'll want to distract yourself when you're fearful of like finding the answer. It'll feel really uncomfortable at first because it's outside of your plan that you've built for yourself. Over time, you'll slowly start to figure it out. It's like learning a new language or learning really anything. And this is really easy to talk about, but obviously when you get put in those situations, it becomes more challenging. I think the most important thing to note is if you can just recognize why you're afraid to do something or afraid to pursue a project, just recognize it in the moment that you're doing it, and it'll become more clear to you why you're not focusing, why you have a block, and then you can start to strategize around it at the moment.
Honestly, don't be afraid to ask for help. Like, what do you think about this? Do you think there's any general idea of how I could start this? Like, any little thing you ask someone can help you like just get started, you know?
That was the same for me recently for character animation, which I do very rarely. I reached out to my friend Vic, who's also in Paper Crowns, and I just asked him some questions just to like help clear my mind, because there was uncertainty. I felt uncomfortable about it. So I found the right person and I did a little bit of research, right? If you could go back to the start of your creative career, what would you have done differently?
That is crazy.
It's like, a really broad question.
It's very broad, but at the same time, it's very deep because there's so much. Like, can I curse on here? Is that allowed? Or should I not curse? I don't know. Actually, I don't want to.
Yeah, I have no idea how YouTube works.
Okay. Okay, what else?
You can curse if you want.
No. Just effing do it, dude.
Yeah.
Like, just do what you gotta do, man. Like, that's like, I think when I was a kid, when I was first doing like just learning and stuff, I think my problem, like if I wanted to learn something, I would put it off for so long. I can't even imagine how bad I used to be. I know I was really bad when I was younger about getting stuff done on time, but like I think I was just scared to explore getting out of my comfort zone, which I definitely know I have. Has been the best thing I've ever done as a creative.
I actually think that's really cool. Something that you mentioned was if you could go back, you would pretty much stop procrastinating. So you used to procrastinate a lot when you were younger. And it's funny you said that because that's basically shaped who you are today, right? Because like I had said earlier, Ryan's super hardworking, really, really consistent, probably one of the most consistent people on the team. It's funny because you start out, you don't have that. You don't start out consistent, right?
No,
But
I don't.
you work towards it. And like you said, it's something that you didn't have back then, but you have it now. Do you have any advice for people who are in a similar position as you, thinking of taking that leap to pursue a full-time creative career?
Do you see yourself progressing and whatever you're about to take on, like in crowns? There's never a wall that I'm hitting, like a dead end, I guess a dead end job. There's always room to progress in crowns. Like the sky is the limit. Like I think that's definitely something you should look into. Like, am I going to be stuck making this much money, I guess? Or like, am I going to be stuck just only doing this kind of work? Like, am I just going to be doing like a Twitch pack, or am I going to be able to move on to like bigger commercials or something like that?
You need to evaluate what your ceiling is, where you are currently and where you might end up. Creative careers are generally more fun because there usually isn't a ceiling. But like you said, for a lot of safe jobs, it's like your best bet is you're at upper management. Like think about how you would be at that job, how you would be 10 years from now. What does that look like? And are you even happy there? If you're a manager at a retail job and you've made it, you've climbed up the ranks, are you satisfied with that?
Right.
Because if you're not, then you're going to waste your time. For some people, though, that's fine. Like my parents, they're totally fine with safe jobs. They
Exactly.
are like baffled by the decisions that I've made for creative career. And like, they're like, why wouldn't you just chill out? Like it makes life easier. And that's just two different personalities, and both of them work fine, but you need to recognize which one of those two you are. I think I need to do an outro for YouTube just so it's easier for me. So if you're watching on YouTube, this was done live on stream on twitch.tv/Nowack Design. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.